West Virginia, baby. This is a video all about kayaking on the Lower Gauley River. This is a common step-up run for people looking to push past Class 3 into some bigger Class 4s. It's characterized by big, tall waves, big holes. It's really big water. The river runs through West Virginia. Everybody is typically staying around Summersville. We got a cabin at the Outpost, which is a common place to stay, but there are plenty of hotels, all that good stuff. The Gauley River is divided into three sections: the upper, middle, and lower. The upper is a big old Class 5 run with 5 huge Class 5 rapids. The middle is a 2-3 section that's great for boaters who want to get into bigger waves, and the Lower Gauley is pushing into Class 4, like I said. So this run for me is a culmination of fall training with Calleva River School on the Potomac. So we actually have guides there. The guy in the jersey that you'll see paddling is a Team Dagger paddler called Bobby Miller. He's awesome. He's an expert on all of these runs, and so it was a pleasure to paddle with him. What you're seeing now is just the cabin that we rented. We're all stoked. Eventually we make our way to the takeout where we deposit our cars and consolidate all of our kayaks onto the shuttle. And then we make our way to the put-in, which you can see me sort of walking down to the water, getting ready to put on, and off we go. This is a super fun run, and I'm excited to share it with you all. Okay, Woods Ferry and Ender waves are typically considered the end of the middle Gauley, but we put in above them to make sure we could get some nice warm-ups as an intro to the run. Ender waves, I think, is what this wave train is, and it's got some nice huge waves that really prepare you for the kind of power and height that you're going to be experiencing when you run the Lower Gauley proper, which typically people say kicks off with Kuntz's flume or Kuntz flume. I kicked this run off by making a really stupid and potentially a consequential mistake. This was really bad. We all agreed that it was very, very smooth-brained. Check upstream for traffic. I almost got run over by a raft. Worse than that, if I got my bow way up in the air, I could have injured one of them. You don't want to be under a raft, so look upstream always. And you can see Ed reminding me to look upstream like immediately afterwards again. Luckily, we were on the same page that time. I did not make this mistake again. All right, just peeling out in these waves is a good way to get used to the strength of the eddy lines and the kind of water that we're dealing with. So that's what I'm doing here. In front of me, coming up, you can see Team Dagger paddler Bobby Miller, who's one of my incredible instructors for the day through Calleva, alongside Jen and Mike, who are also incredible. And Bobby's taking me to Tom's slot, which is just a tricky move in this opening little Class 3 bit. And you can see me hit it really, really close to the rock and spin into that eddy and keep paddling up. That's a tricky move, and it's worth practicing. That was really fun. At this point, you're probably wondering, what the hell kind of boat is Bobby paddling? Well, he and another Calleva instructor, incredible paddler, Steve-O McCone, decided to run over the stern of a Dagger Vanguard after heating it up, run it over with a vehicle in order to flatten it out. So that is a Dagger Vanguard with a flattened stern that Bobby is really enjoying paddling. He does crazy enders in it. He is splatting stuff. He is squirting stuff. Pretty amazing to see that much boat get played with in such a way. And we have affectionately named it the Long Slice on the Potomac. That thing just cracks me up. Okay, a little more context. I am paddling my Dagger Code today. This is an unnamed kind of Class 3 rapid, but figured I'd talk about why I'm bringing it, mainly because there are some really big holes on this river. And I'm not quite confident enough that I've been able to train up effectively in the low water Potomac to bring my rewind. It's been a while since I saw a wave that was taller than my head. And so I thought the most relevant experience I had was at the National Whitewater Center when I was running Comp Channel and Wilderness Channel. And so feeling like that was the most transferable knowledge or experience I had, I decided to bring it. I'm glad I did. This thing keeps me high and dry, like through massive holes. I don't flip over at back ender. Later on, I get eaten by hell hole, and that's a different story, but this was a really confidence-inspiring boat to bring for my first time down. Second time down, maybe I'll try it with the rewind. We will see. All right, so the next rapid coming up is called Back Ender. It's typically considered the last rapid of the Middle Gauley run, and it's called Back Ender because it ends in a massive hole, which typically will grab a boater's stern, get them vertical, and pull them back in for a little hole hug. But it won't keep you. Eventually, you'll flush, and if you come out of your boat, you'll definitely flush, which is the case for most, if not all, of the holes on the Lower Gauley. You don't want to be out of your boat, though. There's lots of undercuts and sieves, so it's much safer to hold on, try and get a side surf, try and find your way out. But you'll see why the Dagger Code is such a good boat to keep you upright based on how this hole treats me. So have a look. All right, Kuntz Flume is the kickoff for the Lower Gauley. It is also a proper class 4 because that massive rock on River Right is completely undercut. I'll point that out. So this was one that we got out and scouted, and I have a very clear idea of the line in my mind. Okay, so obviously that didn't go as planned, and I'm meant to be going just left of this rock that's protruding out in front of me, and then just right of the big surf wave that comes right after it. So you can see it's like a thread the needle kind of move, and my issue here is that I dramatically misjudged both my boat angle, but also how fast the water is moving there. You can see me look over my shoulder at the paddler behind me, my buddy Keith, and in that moment, I lost more distance than I thought I would, and I find myself totally in the wrong place. Very bad news. This is the undercut rock that's such a problem. You definitely don't want to hit it. You don't want to swim into it. You want none of it. And I'm on the wrong side of this rock. What I could have done if I wasn't panicking was swing my bow a little bit more to the right so that I could actually hit it, boof off of it, and go straight. You don't want to go sideways into a hole, but I don't do that. I just panic and don't do anything. I feel my stern hit something, and I'm concerned for a moment that I'm going to pin in this place with a massive house-sized undercut boulder behind me. But what I do is look for some water with my paddle and try to rejoin the flow, which I'm able to do, just making sure I don't lose an edge. I discovered to my discomfort that there is a rock behind me also. So instead of being on surfer's right and rejoining the flow that way, instead I need to turn all the way around again. And I don't want to be in the eddy above the undercut either. So this is just me trying to play it safe, but also still panicking a lot. And you'll notice that when I finally get in a position to rejoin the flow, I start digging like crazy paddling, feeling like I'm stuck because I'm worried I'm getting sucked into the surf wave / hole. But really, I'm just sitting in a big eddy, which you can see in this green circle. And if I had the presence of mind, I could have just faced upstream and peeled out like any normal paddler, like we train to do. But instead, I was just freaking out and trying to get past the undercut. So just FYI. Relevant eddy line in pink. All right, kind of a hair-raising moment for me, but since I got through it, it was actually confidence-inspiring in the moment. This rapid is called Canyon Doors, and with Kuntz Flume behind me, I'm just ready to rock and roll down this wave train. Whole thing curves around to the left, and again, there's some undercut rocks in the middle, but this is just really a follow the wave train, super good time. Well, there you go, Bob. I guess you were ready for your close-up. Bob is a paddling buddy who was on this trip as well. Awesome guy. All right, I'm told this is not the typical line for junkyard. A lot of people run it on the right. In this case, we're running it on the left with a little right-hand turn at the bottom, and that drop is rocky kind of all over, so you're guaranteed to bump through some stuff, hence the name junkyard. All right, at this point, I'm feeling pretty confident. I have navigated some tricky situations. I'm really used to the height and speed of the waves, but the next rapid is a bit of a test. It's called MASH, divided into upper and lower. One of the more technical rapids in that you actually need to navigate around obstacles rather than just contend with weird waves. And it's got one of the craziest boofs on the Lower Gauley. Bobby Miller showed me this mushroom rock, he called it, and so you'll see that coming up too. So one thing about me is I have pretty bad eyes, and they can only be corrected so much by the contact lenses I'm wearing. So when I'm looking for a particular boof rock or something, it does require a lot of mental effort and eye strain. So I'm checking in on where I need to be based on the guy in front of me, Bob, who is following Bobby. I'm checking in here and demonstrating where the rock is so you can set your line. I would have had liked to have had a little more left to right boat angle and enough room to take a lefty boof, because ultimately I want to make my way river right. So boofing on the left-hand side makes sense because it would pull my bow a little bit right. no matter, I land successfully after pulling the boof, not exactly how I wanted it, but then I can make my way right around the rock and proceed down to follow the paddlers who have set the line. So the beta is upper mash has the best boof on the Lower Gauley, and lower mash has the tallest, best wave on the Lower Gauley. Now there's a ton of big waves, so I don't know about that second bit, but sure as hell was fun to blast through this one.
Are you kidding me, dude? What? That thing's crazy. Uh-oh.
Part of the joy of this river, obviously, is the natural scenery. You saw canyon doors. I mean, do I need to say anything else? It's stunningly beautiful. Just wait till the fall. I'm going to get back up here. But the thing I'm trying to say is that this river gives you the ability to really flow, to dig into the current, to use eddy lines, and move with the water in a way that makes you feel connected. And I think that's really, really cool. I enjoyed that a lot.
The long slice! The long slice!
Okay, diagonal ledges is to the Lower Gauley what swimmers is to the Lower Yacht. Great surf spot, some river-wide waves, lots of rodeo going on. When you're coming down here, make sure that you use the wave crest when you're up high to look down and try and spot a head or a paddle, someone who might be surfing below you. Thing about these kinds of tall waves, big water situations, is that you can really hide in the trough of a wave if you're surfing or getting worked or whatever it is. So every time you get up on top of a wave, kind of get up like an ostrich, move your head around, see what you can see. This is a spot where we decided to take out and get a little nutrition in us. The Lower Gauley is a 12-mile affair the way that we did it, and that can mean a lot of hours on the river, and you got to make sure you have enough water and enough food so that you don't start enduring consequences of malnutrition or dehydration, which would be things like cramping, low energy, what have you. You'll see me pass a little hole on my left as I'm exiting here. Just FYI, that's one of those perfectly shaped holes like snake lips at the Whitewater Center. And we've seen it hold a raft there. So some of those holes can be much stickier than you think.
Nice. I'm here. Yeah, you're good.
This one is called Heaven's Gate. It's super fun, but it's worth noting that it does end in a pretty narrow slot between a hole on your right and a rock on your left. So you want to make sure that you're putting your line towards that V as you get glimpses of it. And you'll see about the Heaven's Gate thing at the end. As you can tell, I've been having fun editing, if you couldn't tell from the intro.
Oh shit.
Undercuts everywhere. Do not casually float backwards. Go paddling with people who really know this river, first of all, because it's dangerous and you need the beta. And second of all, because they might know about stuff like this.
The overhead going to left. So you want to duck and then go through the spot.
All right.
Not that bad.
Wasn't sure what to do with my paddle, but
some safety considerations. This is a damp release and usually it's pretty cold. In this case, it's not cold at all. The water temp is like almost 70 and the air is like in the low 60s. But the other thing is that there are really long rapids. And when a rapid is long and there are a lot of undercuts, a lot of the time it can be safest to stay in the flow of a big, tall wave train or something like that. But long wave trains and big chaotic rapids can also present a flush drowning hazard where you keep getting dunked under waves. And if you don't time your breath right, you can run out. But just remember, if you're going to swim, it's best to hold on as long as you possibly can. Keith is going to demonstrate that in impressive form later. But holding on keeps you in your boat, and all of these rapids do have ends. So since there's a pool coming up on the bottom, the longer you hold on, the more likely it is that you'll have a shorter swim to that pool if you do need to pull your skirt. Okay, so this boof felt exactly like what I was training on at the U.S. National Whitewater Center. Go check out that video if you haven't.
nice. I wish I had hit that.
Okay, so I'm not sure what this is called, but we called it BFR, or Big Frickin' Rock, for that big frickin' rock in front of us. The thing to know is, just like at Koontz Flume, that big frickin' rock is undercut as hell. So this rapid basically deposits you out going super fast and aimed directly at that rock, and you come into this boily eddy kind of thing, so you can turn and avoid it. Usually you're trying to go right around it. But one of our buddies, Ed, gets tripped up. He was in a half slice and doing this sort of on hard mode, and he ended up swimming in that rapid. And when he'd made the choice to pull his skirt and swim out, he thought that he was well past that rock. But it turns out he was just upstream of it. Now, it's lucky that Bobby Miller, it's not lucky, the guy's a legend and also one of our guides, sort of intending to keep us safe. Our guides were great at safety. Jen and Mike were dispersed throughout. Mike was on sweep. But Bobby is sitting in front of that rock as a bumper and is able to grab Ed and pull him around, and it ended up being no problem. Of course, we'd set safety and reacted properly when it happened, but FYI on this one. So far, the dagger code and some combination of leaning forward and paddling has gotten me through every big hole I've come through, but we're coming up to one that's going to try and keep me. And I'm almost dead center in this thing, and it's just by virtue of some green water in the pillow that I'm able to actually grab that it doesn't stop me. So I kind of fall into this hole. I still have lots of speed, but it's deep, and I stop. So I can see the river going past me on either side, and I'm like, oh no, it's going to suck me back in. But I just lean forward and paddle, and because there was some green water in the pile, it wasn't all aerated, I'm able to paddle up until it finally lets me go, and all that volume behind me in the stern of the code kind of launches me forward back into the flow. Keith has been paddling for a year and a half, and in many ways, he's better at this than I am. So I'm always stoked to see him push himself, and this is a step-up run for him like it is for me. He just got his offside roll, literally like several days before we came out for this trip, and he's already using it at Horseshoe Wave. He gets flipped over here and is basically riding an eddy line down, getting rejected every time he tries to roll. He tries a total of 5 times, I think, and they are on both sides of his boat. When he finally pulls out, I'm trying to give him a T-rescue. He comes up on my bow, and we get his stuff pretty much no problem. We did have 2 swimmers at that moment, so we took our time, collected the gear, and it was all good. But here's a live little moment on the river for you.
Okay, all right. Hold on to me. You're good. I got you. Don't worry. I'm holding on to you. Don't worry about your boat. Okay, all right. She's got it. All right, swim.
So one thing I learned there is that you kind of never know what somebody is perceiving as they're carping rolls or when they're stuck in a hole or whatever. When Keith came out and grabbed my bow, he thought it was his boat. Seeing that he was kind of not feeling great and a little bit disoriented, I just grabbed onto his PFD and held on to him because I saw the rapid was ending. We could get him to an eddy. He was fine, and he was so fine actually that he decided he wanted another dose of Lower Gauley the next day, Sunday, and so he actually ran it twice, whereas I only ran it once.
This crazy strainer. Go ahead.
This one is called Rooster Tail because of several features. One is the most notable, that have this water pillowing up in a strange way where it kind of remains green water, obviously making a rooster tail shape, but it's kind of funny. Give it a look. This is the big one, Pure Screaming Hell, which ends in Hell Hole. Hell Hole is avoidable on the left, and just right there are a bunch of undercuts and a big sieve. So this one is one of the longer rapids, meaning you really don't want to swim at the top, and if you do, it would probably be uncomfortable. You really want to avoid the right-hand side, but those aren't the only hazards. So this one packs some punch, and I make a mistake. All right, so there's a sieve on the right with multiple entrances, I think. No matter what, I think it's undercut as well. So you just don't want anything to do with this place where I am. I'm a little further right than I want to be. And when these little warning indicators stop, you're going to see the guard hole above hellhole take a lot of my speed, and I basically just fall into hellhole. Get worked, roll back up, get out of there, no problem. But I'm much closer to these hazards than I really want to be again. And that was a moment of pause for me.
Okay. God damn. Woo! That was way too far.
All right, well, that's the Lower Gauley. Step up to Class 4. I think I did a pretty good job, but obviously I was following lines set by some of the best paddlers around, and I had the extra confidence of being on a trip with guides who were watching out for me. Incredible paddling crew, paddling with the legendary Roy, Bob, Keith, Ed, as well as our instructors who I'll name again, Bobby Miller, Jen, and Mike from Calleva. Incredible times. If you're really feeling like a strong Class 3 paddler, you want to give this a run, get some experienced folks, or sign up for a trip and go for it. It's big water. I feel like I was glad I took the code, because if I got wrecked in too many of those holes, I might be hesitant to go back. But now I'm eager to, and I'll probably get back there this season. After pure screaming hell, it's really like one more Class 3 or two Class 3s and like 2 or 3 miles of paddling through kind of nothing stuff to the takeout. The takeouts are pretty significant in terms of driving. There's not a lot of walking or anything like that, but you probably want a 4-wheel drive to get around, and download the maps first and make a plan with everybody while you still have service, because you surely won't by the time you get close. Huge thank you to Calleva as always, and thanks to you for watching. I know this was a long one. Let me know what I got wrong and what I can do better in the comments. Thanks again. All right, either you stuck around for this whole video or you skipped to the end. Either way, here's a reward. You've seen the long slice. Now watch what Bobby can do with it. Sorry for the low quality phone footage, but the GoPro is no good for distance work.
There's like a wheelie eddy.
Oh my god, dude.